Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to the Hell in a Cell 2016 review. I missed the first 30 minutes of this show, not because I was at work, but because I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I came home, I didn't have internet. I was watching it on my phone. I was trying to watch it on my phone. It just wasn't happening. Like, my phone servers decided not to work either. Eventually got turned on. It was Roman versus Rusev for United States Championship inside a Hell in a Cell. So one of the main events was opening up the show. It was a very good match from what I saw, with many false finishes. The match ended with Roman hitting a Samoan drop on the steps, and then Rusev falls off those steps. He rolls off the steps, gets up, and then Roman hits a spear. 1, 2, 3. Roman retains the title. Before we go to this next match, the pre-show, the team of Lindsay Dorado, Sin Cara, and Cedric Alexander won. I did not watch that because I was at work for that match. Bayley versus Dana Brooke. It was a not very quick match, but it was a rather quick match, about 4 minutes. Dana took over for the most part, but Bayley to belly out of nowhere, and she picked up the win. Enzo and Cass versus the Club, or as Enzo called them, Andy and the Big Gal. It was a very good match, but Cass did start to rally, but unfortunately that wasn't enough. And when Enzo came in, he got hit with a Magic Killer, and the Club won. Here's the good news. Seth Owens versus Kevin... What did I just fucking say? Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens was right after this match. So you want to know what that meant. Even though it got announced right before the show. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins was right after this. So that meant that... We'll get on to that in a second. For the Universal title, Owens was very physical in this match. He took over for the majority of the match. Owens puts a table up against the cell wall. Like, he pulls out a table, and there's a table literally right next to him as he's getting a table. He pulls the table out, and he's like, what the hell did I get this table for? There's a table here. He's like, well, let's just make a little ramp type thing. And he puts the table up against the cell wall over the other table. And it doesn't get used for a while. Owens then sprays Seth with the fire extinguisher, which also sprays the ref. The ref then gets escorted out of the cell. While the door's open, Chris Jericho comes out and he locks himself in the cell with the new ref and Seth and Kevin. Seth powerbombs Owen through those two tables that we just mentioned, and he hits a frog splash right after that for a to put the coffin, to put the nail in the coffin. And he gets a 2 count because Chris pulls out the ref. Owens then powerbombs, this is later on in the match, Owens powerbombs Seth on the 2 chairs that were sitting next to each other for the win. Owens retains the Universal title. It was a very physical match, very good match at that. And then they're celebrating. They're walking up the ramp. Well, they're waiting for the doors to get unlocked. Chris then gets back in the ring, and he gives a code breaker to Chris Jericho while Kevin Owens is up the ramp already, and he's almost to the locker room. And then Chris Jericho stands in the ring, holds his arm up, and his music plays. Don't know why that necessarily happened, but it did. TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick. I kind of like the way this match ended. It was a good match to begin with, but I like the way it ended. The match ended with Brian Kendrick went for sliced bread, and he when he landed, he made it look like he landed wrong and that he was injured. So TJ Perkins, knowing that they were long friends, he tries to help him up and whatnot, and as soon as he helps him up, Brian Kendrick headbutts him, puts him in the captain's hook, and TJ Perkins taps out. Brian Kendrick is your new cruiserweight champion. I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy. I'm glad. Brian Kendrick's a badass. Even though kind of saw that coming. Oh, not the fake the injury thing, but Brian Kendrick winning. New Day versus Cesaro and Sheamus. But the thing is, Kofi was not in the match. It was Xavier Woods. Cesaro and Sheamus did very well together in this match. Except for this one part when Big E stepped out of the way and made Sheamus bro kick Cesaro. They didn't fight though. They did not fight. Cesaro had Xavier in the sharpshooter. Big E tried to pull Xavier out. Sheamus hit Big E with Francesca. Kofi then hit Trouble in Paradise on Sheamus right as Xavier tapped. The ref only saw Kofi hit Trouble in Paradise, so instead of calling for the tap out, he called for the disqualification, and Cesaro and Sheamus won, but by DQ, so no titles change. So they played with our emotions and still played with our emotions. The main event of the evening. The Hell in a Cell trifecta finale. Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's title inside Hell in a Cell. They had WrestleMania-esque entrances. Charlotte had 4 men carrying her on a platform with a chariot type. Well, it wasn't necessarily a chariot. It might be considered a chariot. And Sasha came out in an Escalade. She came out in an Escalade with security around it. Then they stood in the ring, they did their announcements, and waited for the cell to get lowered. Charlotte blindsides Sasha before the cell is fully lowered, and Sasha ends up falling right under the cell, right before it's lowered, and then Charlotte goes out with her. They end up outside of the limits of the cell, so they're not even in the ring or in the cell anymore. Then they end up in the crowd. They brawl. Sasha clears the announce table. They both climb up the wall of the cell. Charlotte falls off, and she grabs Sasha, powerbombs Sasha off the cell wall through the announce table. The refs see that Sasha has not gotten up for a good 3 minutes from that. So they walk Sasha to the front of the cell, and they bring out a stretcher, and they say that you're not fighting in this match. They put Sasha on a stretcher right as they go to announce the match is not happening, and that Charlotte is the new Raw champion. Sasha gets off the stretcher and gets in the ring. Very, very predictable. I looked on Twitter, and they were comparing it to the women's version of Foley versus Taker. But I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that it was kind of saw it coming. Then the match finally begins, and it got physical. They were using weapons. They were using chairs, tables, cell walls. I think that's all they used. It was a good match. It was. Charlotte hit a sidewalk slam on Sasha on a chair. She got a 2 count. Sasha kicks Charlotte off the top rope through a table. Charlotte throws Sasha onto a table twice and then hits a natural selection for the win. 1, 2, 3. Charlotte is your new 3-time Raw Women's Champion. So it will be nice to see how things play out tomorrow. I honestly thought they were going to have Sasha win, seeing how it was in her hometown, but it being the main event in Hell in a Cell in her hometown as the champion, I guess that's good enough. They mentioned before that Charlotte is 15-0 in pay-per-view matches and 12-0. This is before this match started. She was 15-0 in pay-per-view matches and 12-0 in title matches. Now 13-16, obviously. But so I assume they're going to keep that record intact because it's the best record for a new career, like for a brand new career starting out. Like no one's done that or started that good. So I assume they're going to keep that record because she's fucking Ric Flair's daughter. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but I assume that's what they're going to do. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we have Monday Night Raw. I'm going to go watch the end of the World Series Game 5 because it's probably not going to be the end of the World Series because the Indians are currently losing 3-2, and I'm going to be pissed if it goes to Game 7 because I can't afford $20 for fucking parking. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name's Camp Council Cody, and I'll see you guys next time. Toodles.